You know, I was not looking forward to this season. When I first heard that the theme was going to be superheroes, I thought, what, again? What, just 6 to 8 months ago, we came from Ultimate Doom and now we're going back to the superhero concept? However, to my surprise, this feels so different from what I expected. I did not think that this season was going to be this good. From the moment I heard about the different boons, the weapons, and saw the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be actually almost peak Fortnite. But then I played it, and something interesting hit me. The feeling that I get from playing this season is the exact same feeling I got when I first played Chapter 2, Season 7. And for anyone that's been on this channel for a while, you know that is my all-time favorite season of Fortnite. And look, it's not just me. Cyan said something similar without me even prompting him to. And listen, here's the thing. If Cyan will come out of the woodwork to play a season and say that it's actually good gameplay-wise, I think there might be a little something to that. And listen, it's not just me or him, but this season is resonating with a lot of you guys, and it has me asking the question, why? What is it about this season that is resonating so well with the community? Why do we seem to have a positive reception to this, even potentially more so than the last couple? And is this the best superhero season that has ever been done by Fortnite? I think we're going to answer these questions. We first need to unpack what this season does so well. First off, let's set the tone here. We just came off of Star Wars. Listen, regardless of how you feel about the franchise or last season, I think a lot of us can agree that Galactic Battle just felt a little lackluster after the first week. I think the reason for this is because Fortnite leaned too hard on the collab idea. And to be fair, it may not have been their fault completely. I have a feeling that Disney stepped in and said, listen, if you want to do a 1-month collab-based season for our IP, you have to completely get rid of all of your weapons and only have our stuff in the loot pool. I legitimately feel like Disney wanted a Star Wars Battle Royale, and for better or worse, they gave it to us. Now, because the last season was so lackluster and it didn't resonate with the community and people were just so tired of the Star Wars theme, I think it set this season up to better succeed. This is one of the reasons why I don't get upset with more lackluster Fortnite seasons. I think that sometimes it's okay to have a bad season or a season that's a lot weaker, because when you get a really good season, you appreciate it more. And because we went a full month without the Fortnite Chapter 6 loot pool, I think it made us miss those weapons and that play pattern a lot more. I missed ammo. I missed the shotguns and the ARs that had been given to us over the last couple of seasons. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think I or the majority of the player base would have been appreciative of these weapons as much if Season Super had have came right after Lawless. And listen, I liked Lawless. I think that it did a lot of things right, but there were still a lot of mistakes when it came to the loot pool and the core BR gameplay. But because of that 1 month long separation with us focusing on a collab, I think that kind of reset our expectations with what we enjoy the most about Fortnite. And I think that one of the big reasons why this season is so good, outside of it just getting us away from the collab theme, is that it does a lot of the things that the best Fortnite seasons in history have done. Listen, I've said this a million times on the channel, and this has been a core theme throughout the entirety of my time making commentary content, but Fortnite is always better when it focuses on original ideas. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't have collabs and that collabs aren't fun, right? But when Fortnite is forced to rely on its own ideas and what they know makes their game good or what's worked in the past, that is typically when the game is the most exciting, when the most hype is generated around it. Now, one thing that's been severely lagging from Fortnite recently is hype. Well, what is it about the season that is so hype? Well, first things first, I think the loot pool is just very well thought out. Once again, coming off of Star Wars, which is super collab focused, or even going back further to Lawless, which had 2 mini-scoped ARs in the loot pool. This season feels more grounded and well thought out. Now, that doesn't mean there probably aren't some broken items in the loot pool and people aren't abusing certain metas as much, but what I've noticed, at least from my time playing, is that there doesn't seem to be one dominant meta. Like, one of the big problems that we've had all of Chapter 6 is that there seems to be a clear dominant meta when it comes to your loadout. For example, Season 1, everybody had to have a Typhoon Blade, and it was absolutely busted. Season 2 was baseball bats and hollow ARs. Mini Season 1 or Season 3 or whatever you want to call it, Star Wars, it was X-Wings and TIE Fighters. There were just a lot of cheap items in the loot pool that didn't feel satisfying to use. Or when you got killed by certain items, it felt like your death was cheap. This is something that Resub talked about in one of his most recent videos, which I absolutely loved. I thought that it was a very eloquent point when explaining what makes something competitive. One of the things that I've noticed consistently through my favorite seasons of Fortnite ever is that variety reigns king. We have a good loot pool that has a good mix of items to use. It always makes the game more fun. This is something that Microwave and I talk about all the time when we play together on stream. When I don't know what I want to pick up, that's when I know a season is really good. There's a good variety of playstyles. I can mix and match different weapons and items together to make a custom class. This is why I and a lot of other people really enjoyed Chapter 4 because the gameplay was so varied depending on the combination of augments and exotics that you had. And once again, we're kind of bringing that back with the boons and the superpowers. And speaking of the powers, I think that's the thing that blew me away the most. Out of every season or collab that we've had, when we've had superpowers mixed in, these to me, and I know this is going to be a hot take, but to me, these have been some of the most fun to use. Listen, we've had some amazing superpowers over the years, from the Kamehameha to the Hollow Purple, Iron Man's Chest Blaster, Dr. Doom's Gauntlets, Spider-Man's Web Slingers, you name it, there's been a good variety of solid superpowers inside of Fortnite. That is one thing that this game does well, is creating superpowers, making you feel like you're an actual superhero inside of the game. However, this time what I noticed when playing is that this feels like the perfect combination of superpowers as well as weapons. Like, the weapons and the powers complement each other very well. For example, you can combine the base boost gauntlets with the kill switch revolvers to not only get a height on your opponent, but to also go in slow-mo and get a crazy trick shot kill on your enemy. So listen, not only are those two completely different weapons with different skill sets attached, but they work together in a unique way to where you can not only get some cool clips, but feel insanely satisfying if you're able to pull the combo off. Another fun fusion is the combination of the tracking visor with the heightened senses boon. It gives you an insane level of situational awareness at close and long range. If somebody shoots me, I can know where I'm getting shot from. And if somebody is real close to me, but I don't know exactly where they're positioned, I can kind of scan for them and feel out where they're at. But if I use that awareness in combination with something like, I don't know, the new DMR, I now become a lethal force at long range. It's almost like this OP sniper class. And see, this is what I think I love the most about Fortnite. When I can mix and match not only superpowers, but abilities as well as weapons together to create these different play styles. I think this is another thing that makes Fortnite feel unique compared to other BRs. Because of all the different ways that there are to play, it makes every round feel genuinely different if you take the time to learn each weapon and get creative with how you want to customize what's in your inventory. I think another advantage that this season has is how purposeful the gameplay loop is. Like, outside of just running around and killing people, I have other things to do that give me purpose. For example, the hero ranking system. Generally speaking, when Fortnite adds a new mechanic into the core gameplay loop, it can make the game far more exciting and rewarding. If you played during this era, think back to Chapter 4 Season 1 during the Most Wanted update, and we had the heat mechanic. The higher your heat level, the more health regen you get back. The new superhero ranking mechanic works similar to that, but it's less busted because the siphon or the health regeneration isn't infinite. And what's something else I always say on this channel, anytime there's some kind of siphon mechanic, something that allows you to naturally gain health back, it makes Fortnite far more rewarding to play. I like how in every match I have to grind up through my hero rank, but that comes with different advantages. For example, one thing I was not excited about was there being weapon bunkers all around the map again. My first thought was, oh my gosh, we're going back to the Chapter 5 thing, so now people are just gonna be camping bunkers and I'm gonna go there, rotate, have somebody try to kill me. But see, once again, Epic threw us for a loop. They took that mechanic but flipped it on its head a little bit. Now, the types of bunks or the types of weapon caches that you can access are dependent upon what level you get. And if you get that top S tier hero rank, you're rewarded with all the boons that are available in the game right now. Once again, that also gives me more of a reason to push fights, but at the same time, remain strategic because I want to stay alive through all the different storm circles. That way I can eventually rank up to that S tier. I love it when Fortnite has additional side objectives that reward competitive gameplay. I also think another thing that's very rewarding this season is the storyline. Now, let me make this very clear right now. I haven't been following the story. I've heard a lot of good things from you guys in the live streams, which, by the way, if you're not tuning into the live streams, hanging out with me in the community, what are you doing with your life, bro? Come through on a Monday, Tuesday, or a Friday night and just vibe with us. We're playing Fortnite. We're doing just chatting. We might play a different game, man. Come through, come kick it with your boys. We'd love to have you. If you enjoy my commentary content or any of the other content that I put out on this channel, the live streams are basically like having a 4-hour-long commentary video where you can just chill and chat with other people from the community that might agree or disagree with your position on something, but we always try to keep it respectful in chat. We have a fantastic community of people. If you don't believe me, come through one time. I'm telling you, you'll enjoy yourself. And like I was saying earlier, because of the live streams, you guys have kept me grounded when it came to the Fortnite storyline. I have not been invested in the story for the last couple of years, but with how consistent some of these characters have been weaved into the storyline, it's got me really wanting to maybe check it out again. Not gonna promise we're gonna be doing any Fortnite theories anytime soon, but if you do see one, don't be surprised. Now, why is this important to the overall season, or more specifically, the gameplay? The reason is because a good story will always give the gameplay more purpose. I think really where it comes out this season, gameplay-wise, is the POIs. The new Demon Dojo, or whatever the hell it is called, with the Dago guy that's just the boss over over there, I think is really dope that not only they brought him back as a villain, but they give some purpose to a new POI being there on that section of the map. And the POI that they designed is really fun to fight at. As a matter of fact, all the POIs are fun. There's a certain charm that these new ones have that just didn't exist in previous seasons. Like outside of the Demon POI, when it comes to the other two superhero theme ones, like the Academy and I think Super City or whatever that one's called, both of those are giving me Chapter 1 Season 9 vibes. And when it comes to the Demon POI, I'm getting Chapter 4 vibes there. Both of those areas of Fortnite had really fun POIs to fight at, and now with the addition of Zero builds, it makes it more intense if you're in a ZB experience. Like at the Hero Academy, you really don't want to stop moving because there's so many different areas where you can get flanked from and outmaneuvered. Like it's always high risk, high reward when going for the weapon caches or the different chests that are spread out all around. My point here is that with the storyline, as inconsequential as it might be, as irrelevant as it might be to a lot of us playing, it does have some underlying DNA that makes the gameplay more interesting throughout the course of the season. You don't have to follow the story to be able to directly benefit from the effects that it has on the game. And I also think that there's some things that they're teasing for next season with some of the current items in the loot pool. For example, next season it was rumored that we're going to have some kind of alien bug theme invasion season, right? Well, one of the things I noticed is that we've got some alien looking tech with some of the weapons in the loot pool, specifically the Spire rifle. And if you played back during Chapter 2 Season 6, the Spire was a very big plot point for the Fortnite storyline at that time. Even the addition of the superheroes as well as the superpowers that have just popped up on the island imply a bigger lore significance that we're building up to, and I like that. Once again, I may not cover the Fortnite storyline anymore, but this season has been one of the most pivotal in terms of me kind of turning around and saying, hey, I might want to check that out again just to see and understand what's going on here. Now, after all these things I've mentioned, I think we've painted a pretty cohesive picture here. This season is very solid, but is this the best superhero season in Fortnite history? At this point in time, I think it's too early to tell, but I will say this for me personally. I've noticed that while I've been playing, this is the most excited that I have ever been for a superhero themed season. And it's not just because Superman is in the game. And when it comes to Superman, the thing I'm curious about the most is how his power set is going to be used in the game. Like, how is it going to feel to actually have Superman's powers? We've all seen the trailers. We know that we're going to get the ability to fly, the ability to punch stuff. Not sure if we're going to be able to shoot lasers out of our own eyes. That might be limited to the sprites, but regardless, it looks like Superman's going to have a really fun power set to use. And listen, regardless of how his power set turns out, the ones we have right now feel so satisfying. But I legitimately think that that comes from them not being collab focused. Once again, there's nothing wrong with doing a collab season, but I will say, like, anytime a superhero season pops up, specifically the Marvel ones, I just kind of check out. And it's not because I hate Marvel. I love Marvel too as a DC fanboy. Spider-Man was one of my favorite superheroes growing up. But the funny thing is, my favorite Marvel powers we don't get inside of Marvel-based seasons. And specifically when it comes to last year's Marvel-based season, we barely had any superpowers at all. They felt more like super weapons than superpowers. Now, I know that everyone's favorite superhero season in history is Chapter 2 Season 4, and for good reason. That season was really good. However, for me, it just got stale. I didn't care about Iron Man's laser or Groot's powers or the Hulk fist or whatever the hell else we had in the game. They were cool to use for a little bit, but then they just got boring. And listen, when it comes to third-party IP items, it's easy to do. Even for something that I love like Dragon Ball, the Kamehameha wave got stale to use. Same with the Deku Smash. I love My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball, but superpowers rooted in collabs over time just get really boring really fast. That's why I think Season 3 has the potential to be one of the best Fortnite superhero seasons ever, because Epic is relying on their own original ideas. Now, they may be inspired by superpowers from other franchises. For example, the Crows. The Crows are just a funny-ass item to use. They're fire. I love them. And listen, clearly the Crows are based on Raven's powers from Teen Titans. But it feels like a Fortnite spin on something that we've seen from a bigger IP. And that's what I come to Fortnite for. And pretty much what everybody else comes to Fortnite for. Even for the people that say they come to Fortnite for IPs, that's fine. If you came into the game because an IP was here, there's a lot of people that came to Fortnite because their favorite thing was put inside this game. However, the reason why we stay is because Fortnite is Fortnite. This is why I say that we don't want collabs to be removed from the game, but we don't like them when they're the entire focus, which is what the problem with the Star Wars season was. When we had the Star Wars season, it just felt like this big pause on Chapter 6 as a whole, like the meta and the culture around the game that was being developed. But once again, now that we've got Super and we've kind of returned to form here with some of the old weapons and some new stuff coming back into the loot pool, it feels like that that momentum has been ramped up or continued from where we left off in Lawless. I am okay with Epic doing collabs and even collab-based seasons, but there needs to be enough of Fortnite's original DNA in it to keep it entertaining. If it's not, I think the player base loses interest way too fast, and we have seen this time and time again. Once again, my favorite seasons are always going to be the ones where Fortnite focuses on their own original ideas the most. Doesn't mean that those seasons don't have collabs in them. Chapter 2, Season 7 had collabs. Wrecked last year had collabs. But I think my favorite time playing Wrecked was before the collabs came in and started dominating everything. But to be fair, some of my favorite seasons have been collab heavy too, like Chapter 4 Season 2 or Chapter 3 Season 1 with the Spider-Man web shooters. Honestly, guys, I think what it comes down to is balance. Epic has got to figure out the perfect balance with everything, and that's a difficult thing to do. However, I'm pretty optimistic for the future, and here's why. When I went to the Fortnite Pro-Am about a month ago, I had the privilege of being able to talk to one of the big developers over at Epic Games that works on Fortnite consistently. One of the things that he told me was that he feels like they're finally getting back into their rhythm over at Epic. Listen, guys, as much as we felt how much things have been different over here on our end for the last couple of chapters, it's been even crazier behind the scenes over there at Epic Games. I've had different employees tell me different stories about how just the culture around Epic had changed over the last couple of years. But that makes sense when you have a lot of people quit or get laid off, or you have new projects that you're working on which require people to get shuffled around. And this is what I was telling you guys over here on my end without talking to Epic employees. For the last couple of years, I wanted to emphasize the idea of us being patient because there was a lot of stuff that Epic had to deal with. There was a lot of growth and change going on within the company. And as someone who's worked for major corporations in the past, I know how that can be. It's always stressful when you got management changes, or when you've got your friends that used to work in the department down the hall, they're no longer there anymore. It reorganizes and reframes the culture that you've developed at your workplace. It disturbs the workflow. And for a company of that size to put on the projects that they put on for us, you have to understand that there's just going to be a lot of adjustments that are going to be made over a long period of time. But one thing that I've said since the start of Chapter 6 was that it feels like Fortnite is back. And talking with some people over at Epic, they feel the same way too. Listen, as much as we want the game to kind of have that Fortnite feel that we're looking for, a lot of employees over at Epic are trying to keep that alive as well. Now listen, Fortnite's never going to be a perfect game. They're never going to do everything that you want them to do. But I think that this season is proof that Fortnite, as of right now, is definitely headed in the right direction.